Hey everyone, and welcome back. So AI in business, right? Everyone's talking about it,
It certainly got everyone buzzing, that's for sure.
and for good reason.
Hmm.
But it's easy to get caught up in all the hype.
Right, it's not just about jumping on the bandwagon.
Exactly. So we're doing a deep dive today, going beyond the hype with this. Let me see, AI policy strategy and framework.
Oh, that's a good one. Very thorough.
It really is. It's
Yeah.
like a guide for companies,
Yeah.
to really use AI, right?
Yeah, it's really about, well, it lays out a structured approach.
And it gets into the nitty-gritty, which I appreciate. Like, it doesn't just say, hey, use AI.
It's more like, here's how to actually integrate it into your business for real results.
Exactly.
Oh.
And speaking of a structured approach, I like how it covers, like, the entire lifespan of an AI system.
From development to deployment to even, like, retiring a system, it's all in there.
That's impressive. And one thing that really stood out to me is this idea of human-centric AI. Section 3.1 really emphasizes that.
Oh, absolutely. It's about making our jobs, our lives better, not pushing us out of the picture completely.
That's the thing, right? Enhancing, not replacing.
Exactly. And this job enrichment idea is key there. Having AI take over those tasks, the ones we all dread.
The repetitive ones, the ones that make you want to bang your head on the desk.
Exactly. Imagine AI handling all that. What could you do with that extra time?
Oh, the possibilities. Think about it. What if you didn't have to spend hours on, say, data entry or scheduling?
Right. All that time freed up for the important stuff, the
Yeah.
strategic thinking, connecting with your team, being creative,
That's what it's all about. It's not just about working more. It's about working smarter.
and having the space to focus on what really matters, on what humans do best.
And that leads us to another crucial point, which is transparency. Section 3.2 dives into that.
Oh, yeah, transparency is huge, especially when it comes to building trust with your team, your customers.
Everyone, really. And when we talk about transparency in AI, we often hear this term explainable AI.
Right, right. It's about making sure that anyone, even if they don't have a tech background, can understand how the AI made a decision.
It's about making it clear.
Yep.
So it's not just this mysterious black box.
Yeah, like let's say you're using AI for hiring. This framework talks about how it's crucial to be able to explain why the AI recommends a specific candidate.
What factors did it use? What was the reasoning behind it?
Exactly. Transparency builds trust, but it also helps make sure that everything is fair. No bias creeping in.
It's about accountability, really. And that's something we need more of, especially with something as powerful as AI. It's all about being open and upfront,
Yeah.
right? And that leads us to another crucial aspect of AI, which is data,
Absolutely. You can't have AI without data. And this framework really dives into data privacy and security in sections 3.3 and 6.
which is huge because there are so many concerns around data these days. It's like everyone's worried about what's happening with their information.
Rightfully so. And that's why this framework emphasizes this idea of data minimization.
Data minimization, what does that mean exactly?
Yeah. So it's about being very intentional with the data you collect, not just gathering everything you can get your hands on.
So it's not about having more data. It's about having the right data.
Exactly. Only collecting what's absolutely necessary for a specific purpose for that particular AI application.
Which makes sense because if you're not collecting it, you don't have to worry about it being misused or, God forbid, ending up in the wrong hands.
Exactly. It minimizes risk and it shows that you're committed to, well, to ethical data handling, being responsible with the information you have.
It's like, have you ever filled out a form online or signed up for something and you're like, what are they doing with all this information?
Right. It makes you think twice.
It does. But okay, so we've talked about the ethical considerations, which are obviously super important. But what about the practical side of things? How does this framework actually help companies use AI?
That's where it gets really interesting. Section 4 gets into all the different ways you can apply AI across your entire business.
Okay, so it's not just for tech companies.
Not at all. We're talking sourcing, production,
Mhm.
marketing, even things like how products are recycled or disposed of.
Wow, so it really is about using AI across the entire value chain.
Exactly. And it gives real examples of how companies are already doing this in all sorts of industries. Imagine using AI to, say, make sure your suppliers are ethical.
Oh, interesting.
Or picture this, AI optimizing your production lines so they run as efficiently as possible with minimal waste.
It's about working smarter, not harder.
Exactly. And that brings up another big question. Who's in charge of all this? If we're going to implement AI responsibly, who's steering the ship?
It can't just be a free-for-all, right?
Exactly. And this framework tackles that head on. Section 5 is all about AI governance. It emphasizes the need for clear structures and leadership.
You need a system, right?
Exactly. And one of the key recommendations is setting up what they call an AI ethics committee.
An AI ethics committee. I've never heard of that before. What is
Yeah.
that exactly? So it's like a dedicated group that makes sure your AI is actually, doing good.
That's the idea. It's about having people from different parts of the company, legal, tech, ethics, all coming together.
To make sure everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. They'd be the ones overseeing all the AI projects, looking at the risks, making sure everything aligns with those ethical principles we talked about.
So they're like the AI police,
Uh,
making sure nobody's doing anything shady.
well, not exactly police, but they would definitely be asking the tough questions. Like, hold on, is this AI being used responsibly, or are we missing any potential downsides here?
They're like the conscience of the company's AI.
That's a good way to put it. They provide that oversight and guidance, making sure the AI is on the right track.
It's like having those checks and balances in place, right?
Yeah.
To make sure everything's running smoothly.
Exactly. And it's not just about reacting to problems after they happen. It's about being proactive.
Which is what this whole framework seems to be about, right?
Hmm.
Being thoughtful and deliberate about AI every step of the way.
Absolutely. And speaking of proactive, this framework also talks about the importance of regular audits, like having those checks in place to make sure things are still going well.
It makes sense because things change so fast with technology, right?
Yeah.
You can't just assume everything will be fine a year down the line.
Right, exactly. And there need to be ways for people to raise concerns, if they see something that seems off.
It's about having that open dialogue, right? So everyone feels comfortable speaking up.
Exactly. Transparency builds trust, and that's so important, especially when we're talking about something as powerful as AI.
Absolutely. And speaking of transparency, we were talking about data minimization earlier.
Right, and this framework goes even deeper in Section 6, laying out these principles for how companies should handle data.
Because it's one thing to collect all this data, but it's another thing entirely to actually, be responsible with it.
Exactly. It talks about how companies should only collect data in ways that are legal and transparent.
No more hiding the fine print at the bottom of the page.
Exactly. It's about respecting people's privacy and being upfront about how their data is being used.
Which is huge because I feel like these days everyone's just clicking agree without actually knowing what they're agreeing to.
It's true, but it's not just about how you collect the data. It's also about making sure it's good quality data.
Because what's the point of having tons of data if it's all garbage?
Exactly. Even the best AI system in the world is useless if it's trained on bad data.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly. And of course, you can't forget about security. The framework really emphasizes the need for strong safeguards, like encryption.
To keep that data safe.
Exactly. It's about building a fortress around your data, so to speak.
You don't want it ending up in the wrong hands.
Yeah.
So it sounds like this framework is really encouraging companies to think about their data in a whole new way, from how they collect it, to how they store it, to how they use it.
Absolutely. It's about taking a more holistic view of data.
Hmm.
And it goes beyond just what happens within a company's own walls.
What do you mean?
Well, a lot of companies rely on third-party vendors, right, for different AI solutions.
Sure, yeah.
Well, Section 7 of the framework talks about how it's important to consider what those vendors are doing, too.
It's like if you're going to work with someone, you want to make sure they share your values.
Right. Like, are they ethical? Do they care about data privacy? What about their sustainability practices? These are all important things to think about.
So you really need to do your homework before you start integrating any AI solutions, whether they're developed internally or, by a third party.
Exactly. You've got to know what you're getting into. And again, transparency is key.
What do you mean?
Well, the framework talks about how companies should demand more information from vendors about how their AI systems actually work.
So no more black boxes. You need to know what's going on under the hood.
Exactly. Companies need to understand the AI they're using, even if they didn't build it themselves. It's about taking responsibility.
Which is a big theme throughout this whole framework, right? Taking responsibility for your AI. And not just, like, setting it and forgetting it.
That's a great point. This isn't a one-time thing. Section 8 really emphasizes the need for ongoing monitoring and improvement.
So it's like you're always checking in, making adjustments, making sure the AI is still doing what it's supposed to be doing.
Exactly. It's a continuous process, always learning, adapting, and making sure your AI is still aligned with your goals.
And not just your business goals, right?
Yeah.
But also your ethical goals.
Exactly. It's about regularly asking yourself, what's the impact of this AI on my company, on my customers, on society as a whole? Are there any unintended consequences? Could we be doing better?
It's a lot to think about.
It is, but that's the thing about AI. It's powerful technology, and it has the potential to reshape our world in so many ways.
For better or for worse.
Exactly. It all depends on the choices we make today.
Wow, this has been a really insightful deep dive. I feel like we've covered a lot of ground.
We have. But hopefully it's given our listeners a good overview of this framework and what it's all about.
It's a lot to digest.
Yeah.
But I think the key takeaway here is that AI isn't just about, the technology itself.
It's about people. And it's about using this technology responsibly to create a better future for everyone.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah,
Well, that's it for this deep dive, but the conversation doesn't end here.
definitely not.
If you're thinking about integrating AI into your business, or if you're just curious about the ethical implications of this technology, this framework is a great place to start.
It's a valuable roadmap for anyone who wants to navigate the world of AI responsibly and effectively.
And remember, the future of AI is not predetermined. It's something that we're all creating together through the choices we make every single day. Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking those tough questions.